Hi, welcome back to Faith and Conviction, and I am your host, Ray Harris, and I want to bring us into our Torah portion for this week, and it's Parashah 5, and it's in Genesis, chapter 23, verse 1 through chapter 25, verse 18, and it's Hayyei, Sarah, or Sarah's life, or life of Sarah. And when you go into chapter 23, verse 1, there toward the end of that verse, you're going to find part of the phrase, life of Sarah, or Sarah's life, depending on your translation. Now, what's interesting in that is when you get into the Hebrew text, the key words that come for this Torah portion are the last two words in that verse. So that's where we get our Torah portion. Now, we want to talk just a moment about life and Sarah, so we can have our key words and have them defined. Now, life, it comes from Hayyei, which is Strong's number H2416. H2416. Now, the King James will translate this in many different ways for life, or life, live, living, liveth, that type of thing. Even maybe the word like alive. And can be translated at times like with the word creature or creatures. Now, Sarah, of course, is something that we already know, and that's Hebrew word 8283. And of course, that's Abraham's wife and the mother of Isaac, the grandmother of Jacob. Now, Sarah means noble woman, but the question is how does it arrive at that? Well, you do a few steps to get down to where that root word is from, and it comes from the Hebrew word sar, which is Hebrew number 8269. 8269. And that Hebrew word means ruler or leader, a chief, an official, a captain, a noble, an overseer. And Sarah is definitely a noble overseer. Now, when we go back into Genesis 11, where we first meet Sarah, she's not named Sarah, she's named Sarai. And so we meet her there with Abram at the end of chapter 11. And she comes from very humble beginnings, and so humble it is that God doesn't allow her heritage to be seen there within Genesis 11. So we don't know who her father or her mother is, but we know that she's married to Abram, which we know is very important. Now, we can go through the narrative and we can catch all the way up to where we are here in chapter 23. And we see that she lives a lengthy life. But her story is one of a type of heartbreak, because she searches her life, spending most of it barren and without a child. But she does end up having a child, receiving a child of promise from God, a son. And she names him Isaac. And it's very important that part of that is about her laughter. And so we want to remember her laughter, and we want to remember that God allowed her to become a living noble in what became the nation of Israel. For without Sarah, there's no Israel. Yet, God permitted Sarah to become noble in that quest and in his plan, a chief part of his plan. And this is very, very heartwarming for a woman who wants to have a valued place in life itself, in the grand scheme of God's plan. So here's what we know about Sarah. Without Sarah, Abram is less. And without Sarah, we have no Isaac and we have no Jacob. Without Sarah, we do not have the Israelite nation. We do not have the Jewish faith. We do not have the Christian faith. These things we do know. So we want to give a thank you to Sarah for being willing to play her role in God's plan and be willing to submit to what he wants. And we want to give God the thank you that he allowed her to be part of his plan, to become part of that living nobility. Now, ladies, I want to encourage you that you can be like Sarah, and you can be like Elizabeth and Hannah and Mary, and you can be part of God's grand nobility scheme. You can be part of his plan. You can be aware that God has a special place for his feminine creation. These are the beauties of the teachings of Moses and the teachings of Messiah. This is the power of knowing the Torah of Moses and the teachings of Messiah, seeing how they work together to all bring glory and praise to God. So in the meantime, continue to seek God, know Messiah, find hope.